Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. It's Friday, TGIF. You made it through another week. And first off, I want to touch off on last week's video. The last video we did, we talked about whether or not you would like to know of your demise 3 months in advance. And you can see that it was split again. You know, some people say yes, some people say no. There's no wrong answer, obviously, but it's funny how we see things a little bit differently from person to person. That's always a lot of fun. And I was thinking, it's questions like that I would bring up to spark conversation, because, you know, today, especially with the younger generation, they all have their heads in the phone. You ever go to a restaurant or a diner and look around at the people and, you know, half the people are on their phone, you know, and you're not engaging the person, the family that you're with. And I know that if you know, I was younger again and my dad was around and we would pull out the phone at the dinner table, I'm sure he would have said, put the phone down. You know, this is not the time for that. And just like we weren't allowed to watch TV when we were eating dinner at night, you know, because as kids, you want to listen to something, or God forbid, if you came to the dinner table with a pair of headphones on, forget about it. You know, when you were there to engage the family, have family discussions, and that was it. And, you know, sometimes those discussions got heated and you got a little bit of agita, but that's, that's how you learn, right? So, interesting stuff. Anyway, today we have some interesting stuff to get to, a little bit of a mosh, so let's get right to it.
First off, I'd like to start off the show by a good friend of the show. You know him, Joel Jacobson. He's been a friend for a long time, likes to send in stuff every now and then to the show, and he knows that, you know, I got a lot of tools on the back burner to restore, so he says, I'm not going to send you anything to restore, but he likes to send stuff in every once in a while. First of all, look at this beautiful, beautiful cigar box. You know, these things, I'll tell you, they were built so nice, and some were built really, you know, this says here handmade in the Dominican Republic, but look here at the beautiful top of the box. Now look here, I think it's called A Fuente is the brand, and look at that beautiful label, multicolor label, a lot of flags on there, just a very nicely done label. This is like a flocking or a red felt top. Just a nice box, huh? And in it was another box. This one here filled with all kinds of goodies that he liked to, and you could see here that type of, again, nicely made boxes. And let's take a look at some of the cool things that Joel sent over. Now, I always told you that really cool things come in cigar boxes, and this is a testament to that statement. Here it is. Joel sent an assortment of just interesting things. Like, look at all these cool things there are here. You know, a telescoping back scratcher, which can always come in handy. A tuning fork. When was the last time you seen a tuning fork? And can you hear that? And it just goes on and on. If you know, it's cool if you have two of these, you can have a lot of fun, because if they're at the same frequency and you tap one, the other one will vibrate. So that's science is fantastic when you start playing with tuning forks. And then he knows I like magnifying glasses. He sent a bunch of cool magnifying glasses. These are all high quality magnifying glasses, and you can see, you know, the how they work. Obviously, they fold out from here. This one here was probably used, somebody had it around their neck, maybe a jewel or something. This is a 10x 10 times power, and I'll show you how this will work here. Let me just get it up to where the camera here, and you can see, you hold it up close to the camera and you can see what kind of there you go. You see that? You know, you can get very good resolution and magnification with something like this. And this one here is very interesting, because I've never seen one of these before, but it's very high quality, made in Japan. Japan made fantastic optics. And what you would do is, it's a aluminum or steel housing. It's a metal housing, so it's a high quality. And it's got a graph here. You see that graph? So I guess when you open it up like this, now this here you could place over like a coin or something like that, and you can see the graph. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so now as you look in here, you could still see the grid around the magnifying glass here. You see that? And I'm just resting the camera up here. That is a 1-inch grid. That's a 1 by 1 inch square, and you could see how nicely that works. So if you had to, you want to see how big something was when it was magnified, what a fantastic little item this is, huh? And yes, that is indeed a New York City token, which used to be used here all the, you would buy these instead of putting cash in here. That was, for many years they used these here in New York City. A safety razor. And he laughed, he joked around, he said, don't use this unless you want a bloody face. But you can see how this works. You would loosen this up, you place your single edge razor blade, which is flexible, would bend it down, and this would have a, if you have ever used one of these, I have. I'm not a great fan. I got a lot of, my chin and everything it looks like mincemeat when you finish one. You have to really take your time. I prefer the twin blade, but a lot of guys use these and swear by them. But they were just made so beautifully, weren't they? They were just engineering marvels. If you know what this is, very good. If you've ever used one, then you're up there, I guess, with my age here. But this is a skate key. And you can see here, it's a Chicago skate company. And what's interesting about this one here, it has the square on the bottom, which you would adjust the skate for the height. And but look at this, and also to take them on and off, because they would clamp onto your shoes. This here is a chain that you would wear around your neck, because you needed to have your skate key with you. And of course, what can you do? A plastic eyeball. It's always something good you can use with a plastic eyeball. Anyway, all cool stuff, all fun stuff. And Joel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. One day I'm going to have to meet up with Joel, because I know we have a lot in common, a lot to talk about. I don't even know how old he is. Joel sounds like such a young name. I keep thinking I don't know. He's got to let me know. Anyway, for today's project, do you know what this is? This is a Klein. See here? Klein, M. Klein & Son, Chicago, USA, catalog 1570-3. This is a lineman's or skinning knife, it's called, and it's made to skin cable. The big cables they have. They use this up here. It's got the ring on the back, because whenever you're working up so many feet, you have to tether your tools to your belt, because if you ever drop it, you can impale somebody below or whatever. But this one here is quite worn. They do make these same model today, only today they don't have a translucent handle, and they have a little notch cut in the top here, I guess, for your thumb. However, I don't know. I prefer the old ones, but I have 3 or 4 of these, and I just pick them up when I see them cheap, And this one here was a little bit worn, and the reason I picked this up, because I did want to reprofile the knife, and there's a few of us out there that enjoy modifying tools. Not too fast for you to see is Jim. He does a lot of tool modifications. Some of us just enjoy doing that, to get in the shop and mess around with tools. But this one here, I wanted to reprofile the blade, because I would like to carry this when I'm walking at night. First of all, it's not a long blade, so you don't have to worry about getting pulled over for having a something that looks dangerous, but it has a nice solid handle. You can see the blade itself goes all the way down, almost more than 3/4 of the handle of the knife. So it is, you would consider this like a full tang. It's got a good profile, but the blade shape, this is great. And like I said, I'll leave the other two, because the other two are in much better shape. I'll leave them alone, but this one here I wanted to reprofile that knife shape. Now, you can profile, that's the fun of customizing tools. You can do anything you want. Now, I was looking at 2 different shapes that I like for this knife. One is a sheep's foot style. And that is where the blade would be straight and then cut down at an angle like this here. Okay, another one is called a Warnscliffe design, and that is what I really want to do with this, because, and I'll tell you why, my reasons for doing it after but that's where you leave the curve, maybe pronounce the curve a little bit sharp here, and have a straight edge across here. And the reason I like a straight edge knife on the bottom is because it's much easier to sharpen, you could sharpen it up in 2 seconds, And so let's have some fun. We're gonna draw it out or whatever, and see if we can't get this into a shape that I enjoy, and we'll clean up the handle. Okay, now to mark off the blade, we just ran a piece of tape from the thickest part of the blade. We don't want to take off any here, but we want to take off this little edge here. You see what we did? We did that, and then we ran some Dicum. Okay, so that's what we're going to have to cut down, that line there. We want that straight line here. And now you can see the shape of blade that I want. And then we'll also trim this down a little bit to make this a little more pointy. It'll be almost like a big carving knife. And I'll show you the benefits of having this type of blade when we finish. So let's cut off a little here and straighten that out. And again, you can see we'll straighten up the handle later on. We got, we want to polish it up a little bit, but let's get to cutting that. We're going to use the thin wafer wheel on the angle grinder. We have it clamped on the bench. Now, I always wear eye protection, but the only time I wear a face shield is when I'm using these thin wafer wheels, because they can break and they can shoot across, and it always pays to be extra careful when using those. We're going to make that cut straight down here, and that'll start us off on today's journey. Okay, see, this is where my buddy Abe Elias, Canada's favorite knife maker, this is where he has a lot of fun designing and making his own knives. Now, you would look at this knife and traditionally you would say, okay, now it looks like a skinning knife. You just sharpen this and you have a skinning knife, and you just flatten this down. But no, what we want to do is we want to use this side here, because we have the nice guard here. And again, I'll reprofile this to make it a little bit more sharp. But the reason I left a little bit of an edge and didn't go right to the line is because, now you're going to grind this down, flatten it out, and then we'll make the edge from there. Because remember, we're going to reprofile the edge. So, and again, you got to keep it cool. You do not want to change the temper. So just keep your bucket of water there, back and forth, dip it back and forth. And now you see where we're going with this. Okay, here we are sneaking up to the profile that we want. We took a little bit off the bull nose here. Again, we're making it like that design we want. And then, I could thin this out, but again, you want the strength there in case you got to do any kind of prying or anything. And now we're sneaking up to this line. Now we're going to take it to the 1x30, and we're going to start reprofiling. You see, now I got to make an edge on here. But again, it's always keeping it nice and cool, never getting warm. And this way the temper remains the same. Now, my favorite part. Remember what this Klein Skinner's knife looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Like I said, we have a couple of these. This is something I wanted to use as my walking knife. I even contemplating cutting this off yet. I gotta see how I feel about that. But anyway, let me show you what I did. You see how we reprofiled the blade now. You see that? And again, I just did it. Just a nice reprofile here. I didn't put a super sharp edge on there, but you can see what we did. It polished out the plastic a little bit, so that looks presentable. This is that translucent red, which I love. And let me show you how sharp. I don't go paper sharp on here. You know what I mean? I don't go where it's super sharp. But what I always like to do is, will it cut and how good it will cut. Like this nylon, this nylon twine is always something that, and if you could just push cut it, like that, then it's sharp enough for me. If you can push cut nylon thread like that, or nylon string like that. Now, like I said, I got other brand, almost NOS of these, but I also have this style. This style here is a Buckingham. You can see here, this is a splicing, same type of knife, a electrician splicing knife. But again, how it's meant to go is you take the cable and you could cut into it and splice it. But now I just made that into a general, and look at the blade thickness on the Klein compared to this one. It's much, it's a much thicker knife, much more beefy knife, believe it or not. And now Let me show you a couple ways you could use this knife that's so nice.
Now, the reason I always like this style of knife is because you can use this as almost like a hack knife here. Here, I'm going to cut a piece of cardboard tip. Using the soft blow hammer on the back, you know, you could see how you can use that as, like we said, a hack knife. But this tip is reinforced. You see that tip here? So you can actually press into something here like this using your hand on top. Let me see if you can get that on camera. And you could see the splitting ability that this will have just by pushing down on it, because it's such a strong reinforced tip. I always like this shape, you know? And of course you could use it for carving, for cutting. It's a great general purpose knife now. Another great feature of the knife is it's really lightweight, and it's heavy duty enough that it'll do the job, but not heavy enough where you don't want to carry it, you know? And it's got that full grip, you know, because I got big hands and this thing is monstrous. It's just I'm still, you know, on the fence about that ring, whether I like it or not, because I don't usually tether my my pocket, you know, my hand knife. So I got to see what I want to do with that. Anyway, this was a fun little project today. So in closing, I've got a new addition to the posse. This little guy's been coming around for the past couple weeks, and he loves lemon cookies and vanilla cookies. You know, he has a little bit of a sweet tooth, and he's so gentle, you know, with his little hands and stuff. And you know, the cats, they chase him away every once in a while, but he's a cute little guy, and I've been feeding him for a while. And special thanks to Joel Jacobson for the great show and tell we had today. And also, I hope you have a great weekend. It was a fun project today. Take care. See you again on Monday. Bye-bye.